Hi, friends, and welcome back to Figgy in the North, the podcast where we talk all things Iceland travel, from iconic waterfalls and black sand beaches to the practical details that can make or break your trip. I'm Figgy, and today we're talking about something that comes up in almost every Iceland travel conversation: renting a car and driving in Iceland. If you've ever stared at a map of Iceland and thought, okay, this looks incredible, but also kind of intimidating, you're definitely not alone. I get questions like, is it safe to drive in Iceland? Do I really need a 4x4? What about snow, wind, gravel roads? And am I going to accidentally end up somewhere I'm not supposed to be? So today, we're slowing it all down and talking through it together. By the end of this episode, you'll have a solid understanding of whether renting a car makes sense for your trip, how to choose the right vehicle, what the roads are actually like, the biggest safety tips to keep in mind, and how to avoid the most common mistakes travelers make. Think of this episode as the calm, reassuring friend in the passenger seat. Alright, let's get into it. Should you rent a car in Iceland? Let's start with the big picture. Do you need to rent a car in Iceland? For most travelers, the answer is yes, and here's why. Iceland is not a country where public transportation will magically get you everywhere you want to go. Buses outside Reykjavik are limited, infrequent, and not designed for sightseeing. Tours are a great option for some people, but they also come with fixed schedules, set routes, and crowds. When you rent a car in Iceland, everything changes. You can stop when something catches your eye, and trust me, something will catch your eye every 5 minutes. You can linger at a waterfall without watching the clock. You can change plans based on weather, energy level, or pure curiosity. Renting a car gives you flexibility, independence, and access to places tours don't go. That said, you don't have to rent a car to enjoy Iceland. If you're staying mostly in Reykjavik, planning to do a few guided day tours, or visiting in winter and are uncomfortable driving in snow, then skipping a rental car is totally valid. But if you want to explore beyond the city, especially the south coast, the ring road, or the north, a car opens up the country in a really special way. Choosing the right rental car. Now, let's talk about one of the most confusing parts of planning. What kind of car should you rent? Do you need a 4x4? This question comes up constantly, and the honest answer is, it depends, but when in doubt, go with the 4x4. Here's a general guideline that works well for most travelers. Summer, from June to August. If you're sticking to paved roads and major attractions, a standard two-wheel drive car can work. But you will need a 4x4 if you want to go to the Highlands. In the shoulder seasons of May and September, a 4x4 is strongly recommended due to unpredictable weather and road conditions. In the winter, between October and April, a 4x4 isn't optional. It's a safety decision. A 4x4 doesn't make you immune to bad weather, but it does give you better traction, more stability in the wind, and extra confidence on gravel and snow. And confidence goes a long way when you're driving in a new country. What about size? Bigger isn't always better. Huge SUVs can be more difficult to control in strong winds, especially if you're not used to them. For most people, a compact or mid-sized 4x4 is perfect. It's easier to drive and often more fuel efficient. F-roads and the Highlands. If you've seen photos of colorful mountains, remote valleys, and wild river crossings, you've probably seen the Icelandic Highlands. And this is where we need to pause for a reality check. Highland roads, called F-roads, are not regular roads. They are rough and unpaved, often steep and narrow, frequently crossed by unbridged rivers, and open only part of the year. Driving an F-road requires a vehicle explicitly approved for F-roads, experience with rough terrain, and a solid understanding of conditions. Attempting an F-road in the wrong vehicle can void your insurance, leave you stranded far from help, or result in very expensive damage. If you're unsure, it's okay to skip the Highlands, or book a tour for that part. Iceland has plenty of incredible places that don't require extreme driving. Rental car insurance. Please don't skip this. I know, insurance is boring and adds to your costs, but in Iceland, it's also one of the smartest decisions you can make. Basic insurance is usually included with rentals, but it rarely covers the most common types of damage in Iceland. Here's what's worth considering. Gravel protection. Loose gravel can crack windshields and chip paint, especially when other cars pass you. Windshield, glass, and tire protection. These parts of the car are the most likely to be damaged during your travels. Without this coverage, you could be on the hook for big charges. And finally, sand and ash protection. Volcanic ash and sandstorms can damage paint and headlights, particularly along the south coast. Is it extra money? Yes. Is it worth it? Almost always. Think of it as buying peace of mind. What Icelandic roads are actually like. Driving in Iceland is generally straightforward, but it's different from what many visitors are used to. You'll encounter smooth, well-maintained highways, long stretches of gravel, narrow mountain roads, and bridges that only fit one car at a time. The one-lane bridges. These can feel intimidating at first, but they're simple once you know the rule. The first car to the bridge has the right of way. Slow down, look ahead, and don't rush. Icelandic driving culture is generally patient and cooperative. The gravel roads. When you approach gravel, reduce your speed before you enter the gravel road. Increase the distance between cars, and avoid sudden braking or sharp turns. Gravel can be slippery, especially when wet. Take it slow and steady. Weather, the biggest safety factor. If there's one thing to remember, it's this. The weather dictates everything in Iceland. You can experience sunshine, rain, wind, and snow all in one day, sometimes in 1 hour. Before driving each day, check the weather forecast, check the road conditions, and pay attention to wind warnings, especially with a high-profile vehicle. The wind deserves special respect. Wind is one of the most underestimated dangers in Iceland. Strong gusts can push your car sideways, make driving exhausting, and rip doors off when you open them. Always hold onto your door firmly. Park facing into the wind when possible. Be cautious in exposed areas, and open just one door at a time. Rules you really need to know. Some Icelandic driving laws surprise visitors, and breaking them can be costly. Off-road driving is illegal. Even pulling slightly off the road can cause permanent damage to fragile landscapes and result in high fines. Headlights and taillights must be on at all times. Day or night, rain or shine, don't rely on the automatic lights, because many vehicles don't automatically turn on the backlights. Finally, speed limits are lower than you might expect, and speed cameras are common. These rules exist to protect both people and the environment, and they're enforced. Navigation and planning. Google Maps works well in Iceland, but don't rely on it blindly. Always double-check road numbers. Watch for closures on the Icelandic Road Condition website. Download offline maps, and keep your plans flexible. And if a road is closed, do not drive it anyway. Road closures are about safety, not suggestions. They don't close roads without a good reason. Winter driving. Honest talk. Winter driving in Iceland can be magical and challenging. Short daylight hours, snow, ice, and wind all require extra caution. If winter driving feels overwhelming, shorten your driving days, adjust your expectations, or choose guided tours. There's no prize for pushing yourself beyond your comfort level. I have been grateful many times that my Icelandic husband is used to such driving conditions. Driving in Iceland isn't about speed or confidence. It's about awareness, preparation, and respect. If you take your time, stay flexible, and listen to conditions, renting a car can be one of the most rewarding parts of your trip. Some of the best moments in Iceland happen between destinations, when you pull over, breathe it all in, and realize how lucky you are to be there. If this episode helped you feel more confident about renting a car in Iceland, subscribe to Figgy in the North. Leave a review, it helps more travelers find the show. Share this episode with someone planning an Iceland trip, and follow Figgy in the North at Adventures in Iceland on social media for more real-world Iceland travel tips. Your support keeps this podcast moving forward. Next time, we're tackling a topic that affects everyone, understanding Iceland's weather and how to pack for it. Because in Iceland, the weather always has the final say. This is Figgy, and I'll see you next time in the North.